him. And today, would I say we've woken up or we are closing the day to a very important piece of news, news that is unprecedented in the history of Ghana football. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has dissolved the Ghana Football Association, headed by Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi. And the reasons adduced for that dissolution are myriad. Some are direct, others indirect. Before we go for our first break, President Akufo-Addo has dissolved the Ghana Football Association after a private investigative company, Tiger IPI, documented rampant bribery and corruption in the game. Sports Minister Honorable Isaac Esiama has confirmed the dissolution, and he said all the officers of the Ghana Football Association can no longer carry themselves as FA officials. It has been dissolved with immediate effect, quote and unquote. When we say the FA is dissolved, it means all functions, all activities are dissolved, he added. This comes some 24 hours after the public screening of the documentary at the Accra International Conference Center reduced the association to ridicule and severe trolling on social media. The president of the association was filmed allegedly collecting a sum of $65,000 from investors to influence the president and vice president to get road contracts. He is under investigation for defrauding by false pretenses. A statement from the presidency has confirmed the president's decision to dissolve the FA. The dissolution is likely to attract a FIFA ban, as its rules oblige member associations to manage their own affairs independently and with no influence from third parties like governments. FIFA banned Nigeria in 2014 after its high court disbanded the Football Association after a poor showing in the World Cup in Brazil. A ban would mean no Ghanaian team, including club sides, can play in regional, continental, or international competitions. It is actually argued that the president does not have the power to dissolve an independent and incorporated organization. Government has directed the Registrar General to remove the name of the GFA from its books. The police has also begun investigating all persons indicted in the documentary. So this is a thunderbolt, quite unprecedented, and many people are reeling under the impact of such an abrupt and sweeping announcement. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we speak to Chief Executive Officer of one of the top clubs in Ghana, Accra Great Olympics, and also take your views, viewers from your homes. Stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. So we ask, what does this build for the future of football in the Republic of Ghana? Many Ghanaians are only aware of the senior national team, the Black Stars. But apart from that, there is a football team for amputees. There is another one for junior players at the under 20 and under 17 levels. There is one for women called the Black Queens, and those with disabilities and all that. So therefore, it's quite a mammoth association that controls up to 8 football federations, we are told. So therefore, this has wide-ranging effects. EXCO members or officials are now going home. Clubs have been put in to complete the SARI. We just ended the first leg, or the first leg of the Premier League, going into the second round. What happens to the Premiership in Ghana, and who are the suppliers, who are the people who benefit, who are those whose free agency will be affected, and will we lose any local players to international top flight teams? We are joined on the phone by Mr. Oloboy Commodore, Chief Executive Officer of Accra Great Olympics. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, how does this, first of all, before we look at the announcement from the presidency, as a club manager, as someone who has invested heavily in Ghana's football, how did the documentary yesterday come to you as an individual, sir?
I can barely hear you, but if I will guess, you were asking that after the announcement of the presidency.
No, before we even tackle that, seeing people you've worked with, referees, officials of the GFA, including the GFA former president, now outgoing president, when you watched excerpts of the video of Anas's expose yesterday, what was your first reaction? Were you shocked, or all along football people have known that such sheer levels of corruption have been taking place in the Football Association?
Well, I felt that something grave happened in Ghana football, and that if what has been shown is just what is there, then perhaps some of them will need some explanation. But in the case of Gov'T, if all that has been said is what he actually said, it puts me in the position to think that, you see, people that it doesn't know at all, people that didn't know. That's what I get. I haven't watched the video myself, but from the snippets from what you call the social media is what I'm going on. If all that is true, then you ask yourself, will you go to that extent to talk to people you don't know at all? You say, if you don't know them at all, why do you go that far? Yeah. Because I will not do that. And I know Kosi is a very smart and a astute lawyer. Wouldn't go that far. But I haven't watched the film myself, so if all that they are saying is true, then perhaps I don't know what carried him to that extent. That you think that you can put the president with, and the president has told whatever. That is the campaign mantra. That the president cannot be involved in corruption. You know, if you go out and say that this person can be corrupted if you pass through me, it's a big issue, really. It's a big issue. And when I heard that, I thought that it's a big national issue. It has become a national issue, not a national issue.
Mr. Commodore,
that the president could take such a bribe to award contract, then what is that?
Mr. Commodore, when an issue comes up like this, people become judgmental. It's unfortunate Mr. Kwesi Nteche has not appointed a spokesperson to be able to answer to some of the issues. But then you've been with him, you've worked with him, and every human being has got a history. Tell us how Kwesi Nteche got into the football business and the kind of person he has been over the past few decades.
No, I got to know this gentleman. I didn't know him as Kwesi Nteche at that time. It was around 2001, 2002. Olympics was in the Premier League. And by the side of what they call the VIP ticket area, every time that I go there, supervised ticket sales, I see this gentleman paying to enter, whilst other members of the FCN always come and they want to get in free. I didn't know him as Bolin. When I got to know that he's Bolin, I just liked the man. Because although he was in the FA fraternity at that time, he always came to the stadium to pay. So when I got to know him, that he is the guy called Bolin. Naturally became my friend. But I didn't ask him any question, and we were never friends. Although I loved him, I never introduced myself to him until 2005 when we were going to have this election. He approached me to support him. I asked him a few questions, and I didn't get the answers I wanted, so I didn't support him. Eventually, we became friends because I saw him as a very humble person and affable. Each time you approach him with a problem, you see how best he can help. Not helping us, what people think the corrupt means or something, but he took everyone as a friend. And we all decided that, oh, let's help this gentleman to progress in football. So we supported him, me and my friends and other people. I'm not saying this because he has got into trouble now and I have to say something good about him. What I've heard, because I haven't watched the video, if all those things are true, perhaps I would say that he went too far.
No, but for a gentleman who started quite popular and was the first person to take Ghana to the World Cup, how come all of that affection and love vanished into thin air with so much opposition to him within the football?
I will not say it has vanished into thin air. If you took Ghana to the World Cup, you actually took Ghana to the World Cup. It's a fact. If you took Ghana to the World Cup the second time, it's a fact. It doesn't get away from you. If you are involved in any wrongful act, that's another thing. It doesn't mean that you didn't take Ghana to the World Cup. In any case, if it is through these kind of practices that took Ghana to the World Cup, there are many people who want to answer questions. You understand me well? If you will say that the man is so corrupt from that time that he took the, then it means that there are several people that he went through who managed to get Ghana to the World Cup. And if Anas, particularly, if Anas is in 2006 now, what's special? Why you Ghana paid money to a referee the World Cup for Ghana to win a certain match, and you come and you are not patriotic. We are now talking about what has happened now, which has been recorded. My position on this entrapment and so on and so forth is that if I don't sell Yokagari, and you come to me, you want to buy Yokagari, I'll just tell you that I don't sell Yokagari. I will not take your money, or I will not accept whatever you bring to me. And that is where I don't accept the word entrapment for anyone. If somebody approaches you with money to do something, and you are somebody who will not do that, you have to drive the person away. Like some others did. By FIFA's old regulations, you don't have to accept any gift for the work that you do, your position as a football person. If it is something that you have to accept, you have to declare it. So I will not support any corruption, particularly in our circumstances now where it is even linked to the presidency.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Okay. Yantechi worked with quite a number of sports ministers. We saw Honorable Muntaka Mubarak pass through. We saw Honorable Rashid Pelpo. We saw Honorable Humado, correct me if I'm wrong. We've seen a number of people work with him. But for the immediate past foreign youth and sports minister, Honorable Neil Antevandapoy, to level such serious allegations, including the fact that the 6-1 victory we had over Egypt could have had some underhand dealings. As a poor country, with many open gutters and hundreds of thousands of unemployed youth, would we have the money to pay our way into qualifying for the World Cup?
It is a weakness of the foreign minister. It is a weakness. If for any reason you do not agree to corruption, what he terms corruption, you must come out clear, very clearly to tell everyone. You don't wait till you have left office. Then you mention this and that and so on and so forth. And for that one, I will not agree with the honorable minister. He has left office now, and up to now, he has not leveled particular allegations that because of ABC and ABCD, I'm reporting you to this association or committee for investigation. He never did that until he left. So it is not a matter of what we are getting now, that someone will wake up and say and become an hero. It is not so. Jonathan Vanderpoy was on the FA. If he had any facts or evidence like Anas is providing now, he would have brought it out. Was he afraid? Or if he wasn't afraid, why didn't he bring it out? Or was he taking part in the booty? And those are some issues that if somebody has authority to take action and doesn't take. That's why did he take those actions and is now talking.
That is quite insightful. Mr. Oloboy Commodore, Chief Executive Officer of Olidade, Accra Great Olympics. Thank you so much for making time with us today. You may join the conversation via our WhatsApp line, which is flashing on your screens right now. There is a message from Kubi Suarez from Pekin number 2 in Kumasi. He says, "Hi Ibrahim, there is no smoke without fire. Mr. Yantechi knows what he was saying. I hope it is not the first time. Maybe Yantechi has done business with the president before. That all of them are corrupt. Views shared on this platform by viewers are entirely theirs, and they do not reflect our editorial policy." So you may also send any message you have. We shall soon speak to Charles Osei Asibe, President of the Ghana Arm Wrestling Federation. Hello, sir. Good evening, and thanks for making time. Okay. We'll soon speak to him. And Charles Osei Asibe is the president of Ghana Arm Wrestling Federation. Just as we indicated, and the Football Federation or Football Association has up to 8 federations, and one of them is the Ghana Arm Wrestling Federation. So it's quite a behemoth association with so many, departments or federations, so to speak. And there's a lot of activity under this association, and therefore it comes as a great shock that it has been dissolved, and the unintended consequences and the projected consequences of such a radical and decisive move by the Republic of Ghana. And we may now open the phone lines and take a few calls, and the phone numbers will be displayed shortly on your screens. What do you think about the move that has been taken by Ghana's president to dissolve the Ghana Football Associations? What are the recommendations you think we can make to make the association better when it eventually bounces back? Are you a footballer? Have you had issues with agency? Have you had any interaction with any official of the Ghana Football Association? We are told there are so many talented people who try their best day in and day out to catch the attention of the powers that be so they can, with pride, wear the Ghanaian jersey. Some become successful, others don't. So if there are any stories you have to share, you could as well share with us via phone by calling our phone lines that will shortly be displayed on your screens. And we are taking reactions from football people, as they are called in the Republic of Ghana, and to find out what the mood is within the football fraternity and what recommendations could be made and where Ghana moves next from here. So you may call us by dialing this is an old match. Ghana has discharged itself quite creditably on the few occasions we had the opportunity. Okay, we have the former chairman of GALCA, Mr. Kumson, on the line. Hello, Mr. Kumson. Good evening, Mr. Kumson. Good evening, Mr. Kumson.
Yes, you are speaking to Mr. Kumson.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Kumson.
Thank you, my brother.
You were the chair of GALCA, but for the sake of our viewers who don't know too much about the dynamics within the Football Association, what is GALCA and where does it stand in the value chain?
Yeah, thank you very much, and let me take opportunity to say good evening to your viewers. If you ask me about GALCA, I will simply put it as a welfare body of the clubs. GALCA means Ghana League Clubs Association, and they are the welfare body, like a mother association of all the football clubs in Ghana, which I used to be their vice chairman.
Vice Chairman, thank you so much, Mr. Kumson. Mr. Kumson, in this Anas expose, we saw referees take bribes to take certain moves against people for whose welfare you used to work as vice, chairman. All along, has there been that suspicion that some of the matches clubs under you used to play were compromised?
Yeah, my brother, thank you very much again. If there is any football administrator or somebody in football who say he has no knowledge or he hasn't heard what has been going on in football of this nature, I will be very much surprised about the person. But if that's the magnitude, then that one is very disappointing and surprising, because we have heard match fixing, we have heard referees taking money, we have so many things, but we didn't have the evidence to say this person took money and therefore this is money the person took and he has gone to do A, B, C, D, and therefore we want the law to deal with him. We were waiting for this and we haven't done that. And because of that, if you remember some time back, it got to a place, even the FA president himself came to announce that if there's anybody who thinks he can help us to prove that there's corruption in our football, or some referee has taken some money before a game, the person will be rewarded by 20,000 Ghana cedis. It tells you that we are all aware of something of the sort going on, but we didn't have our hands on the bottom. So seeing expose by Anas, Aremiyaw Anas, is humbling, and it's an opportunity. It has given us opportunity to now believe and see that what we've been hearing, what we've been told, what we've been hearing all along, or the media has been speculating all along, there is factor of truth in it, and this is the evidence. Okay. And that is exactly what we had the opportunity to see yesterday and today. And now everybody in football will say we are ashamed, we are humbled, and sometimes I said that I'm confused, and I find it difficult for even tell people now that I'm associated with Ghana football. Very shameful and very embarrassed at this stage.
Mr. Kumsin, and there has been the mention of a popular local league, referee Suka, and one particular match between Kotoko and Haas, whose outcome people accuse him of having taken something to affect. From where you stood as vice president of GALCA or vice chairman, can you mention a few matches you witnessed and the sudden change of events and the outcomes of those matches really shocked you for you to believe that, yes, indeed, the referees were compromised?
My brother, this is difficult for me to answer because in football, you must understand that the referees take decision in a split of a second. What sometimes, if you don't go to the stadium and you are sitting behind your television, you have opportunity to see replay and others. Refs on the pitch at that particular time don't have those opportunities. Therefore, they take decisions in split seconds. So some of us that has been in football long have come to appreciate that referees are human beings and sometimes they make mistakes. So sometimes when you are watching matches, you are tempted to believe that some things that happen could be a mistake. But others, you can also see that, this one cannot just be a mistake because where his position is and where it happens, probably the deliberate attempt to probably push the match into a particular direction. But, hey, my brother, no evidence. All what we say is a conjecture. We will try because of experience in football, how the officiating is going. But at the end of the day, I'm not a referee, so I can't determine. That is why you got to a point the FA got this review committee to deal with those situations. But we see national matches where even at the World Cup level, we see the referees commit serious blunders. So it makes it difficult for you to see what a football match is and just conclude on your suspicion that what you are saying, something has taken place in terms of corrupting the referee. So it has been difficult for me to take that decision if you ask me. But I will put it, go back again in saying that Anat has put the light on the darkness that we were all wallowing, and now we can see.
Okay, and quickly, and maybe my last two questions. One important official that is caught on the tape taking some 3 bundles or wads of currency was, or maybe we could say, is the outgoing regional president of the FA. He's in faraway Iceland. He says he'll be back by Saturday and he would be talking to his lawyers. I'm sure you worked with him at some point. Do you think the man would stoop that low to be taking bribes?
My brother, what we saw yesterday, it will be difficult for me to come and defend or argue in anybody's favor. From the person you are talking about, i.e., Mr. Duku Komete, he himself has said that he's away as line like he said. He will come and make a statement and then let his lawyers act. Thank God the government have ordered us of them to be investigated by police. So let police go into them and then come out with their findings, whether they are culpable or they are not. Police deals with that. Then we can take a decision.
Okay.
He has been head of many, head of referee, head of Blaster D, and currently vice chairman of Black Stars. And we've been caught on tape taking money for that reason. He claimed he didn't take the money for that reason. Let's wait for the police to bring out results. Then we can go further in digesting.
Mr. Kumsin, you are a very eloquent man, so this will not be my last question. It will be my last but one. It is said you don't change a winning team. This is a gentleman who has taken Ghana to 3 consecutive World Cup competitions. Some are saying there is a certain cabal, there is a mafia group within the Football Association that is, for want of better words, that mafia is a bit, envious of the achievements of Mr. Kwesi Ntechi and would want to do him in and see his back. How would you respond to such?
My brother, if you are longest FA president, okay?
And arguably the most successful in our history.
The longest FA president in Ghana, okay? If there is a cabal, if you're supposed to be leading the cabal, I'll be extremely surprised to whatever reason anybody will give, for me to accept the fact that there's a cabal outside that FA president is not aware of and he has no control. I'll be extremely, otherwise he couldn't have been a president for 3 consecutive times. I don't know of any cabal. All what I know and I've seen is definitely when there is an organization that you lead, and you start climbing, you get to a point you reach your peak. And when you reach your peak, definitely there should be a diminishing return that will begin to descend. That is why it wasn't true for our elder to say you leave the scene when the applaud is out. Some of us already have seen the dangers ahead, far away, and we have talked about it longest. Remember, the king is naked. I was the person who said this in Ghana here almost a year ago. That's where our football is getting to. Our president have lost focus, and there's nothing he can add to our football than going to the negative. Therefore, it will be in his interest to step down. And since I've preached this over and over, and when this announced expose started giving warning that this thing is coming, everywhere I've had the opportunity, I've asked the president to step down and save Ghana football. And I can tell you for authority, if we have heeded the wise counsel, Kobna Yabua, Nyahota Makro, and the big and the big football administrators who have seen it all, who have seen all in life with some of the politicians who have advised that where things are getting, please stay off and let's get a new direction. If you have heeded to this advice, we won't be sitting here this evening hearing that government have decided whether legal or illegal dissolve Ghana football for you and I to be.
Mr. Kumsen, I keep saying I wish there were an opportunity for Mr. Ntechi or an assign of his to be able to answer some of our questions because we don't want to be judgmental. I thank you for your insight, but my final question is, do you think the recent events could affect the sponsorship deal with Xylophone Cash and also Star Times that covers the local league?
Oh, are you aware GFA has been dissolved?
Yes.
Then obviously, if you sign a deal with somebody who doesn't exist again, then obviously I heard the minister was granting an interview in one of your sister stations, and he was asked similar questions. And he said that everybody knows that we are in different times. We are not in normal times. And where things are going, definitely we are sponsoring an association, and the association is no more. There can't be any sponsor. So from what you are telling me, I know obviously the sponsorship is off because the football clubs that are going to benefit, they are no more. Okay. Until further notice, or I wake up tomorrow and government is saying what he said, he has realized he have done the wrong thing and therefore he's allowing GFA to go through his own process in reforming, then probably we can talk of sponsorship resistance and other things. But now that the government said that will dissolve Ghana football, it will be difficult for any sponsorship to exist.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Compson. We hope in the near future as we inch closer and closer to the World Cup, we get the opportunity to interact with you in our studios. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Kumsin, former Vice President of GALCA. Before we go for a quick commercial break, a few of your messages, and when we come back, we'll take a few calls. This is from Tariq in Tamale. He says, hello, Irbad. Since Mr. Yantechi says anyone who reports a case of bribery with evidence should come for a reward of 20,000 Ghana cedis, I want to know if Anas will get that reward money. That's quite an ironical question. Then someone says, voila, why is that you keep on changing your time? Then, oh, sorry for that, still at work. And then this is from Femi from Aflau. I'm very disappointed in Yantechi and his group. This is very poor, very poor. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we pick a few of your calls. Stick and stay with us. And we can't get Charles or say.
Fair. We and my holding free more. And ye. Or maybe I'm punto facasia. And if Janie Yassi, a Johnny Abefo, named Jensen Munina. Jina in my holding creia so. Miss Senti. And you're not a humbinia. Say a church, near a quite pa. Your day and my holding, Bedijuma. When my holding, I said, dear. Lady Super Pepe.
She enyama hoden nkomo odi TV wan so adwo da bia
Government's dissolution of the Ghana Football Association. You may now join the conversation, and the number to call or the numbers to call will shortly be displayed on your screens. A text message from an avid watcher of this program. She's in the person of Monica Cons in Navrongo. She says, oh yes, Irbad. We saw this coming, and so it's long overdue. I remember Yantechi used to boast that no one could remove him. Countryman Songo is vindicated, and I think multimedia ought to reinstate him. Kudos to Mr. President for this great move. And this came from Monica Cons in Navrongo. Quite an avid watcher of this program. Thank you. Then there is a text message. It says, please, when is the premiere going to be in Tamale? I think the league itself may suffer some hitches as a result of the dissolution of the FA. This texter says, good evening, sir. The situation that Mr. Yantechi finds himself in today is very sad. This means that whichever position or office you are asked to serve, please serve people with all transparency, because there will be a judgment day for you to account for This came from Momin in Bole in the northern region. We appreciate your message. And then this is from a texter. The texter says only good evening. Good evening to you as well. And there's another one. It says, I thought you people have stopped showing that program. No, the program is on Tuesdays to Wednesdays from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Then somebody says, okay. So you may call us on the phone lines that are displayed on your screens. What do you think about government's dissolution of the Ghana Football Association, and what does it bode? Hello, good evening. Your name and where you calling from? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Yes, so you lower the volume on your set and when you call us so that we can hear you clearly. What do you think about the dissolution of the Ghana Football Association by Ghana's government? And what are the reforms we need to undertake to make it better when it bounces back? Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, I'm watching your program concerning this Anas Expose saga.
Okay.
BTV1, you are doing a wonderful, great job. I think government of Ghana supposed to contact FIFA and CAF before dissolving of the GFA entire administration. Simple because I remember some time ago, Nigeria Football Association did a similar thing and FIFA banned them. So I don't know whether they also did that consultation before they did that. So if you can educate us in case of such things happen.
Okay, thank you so much. I hear you would suffer a 2-year ban or so, and you gave a good example of Nigeria. But I'm sure the necessary procedural mechanisms would be put in place if they haven't, and maybe too if they have, in the face of such overwhelming evidence, and that Ghana needs an overhaul. But let's still be fair to the myriad referees and officials, and including outgoing President Yanteche as well. They don't have any spokespersons to speak on their behalf. So we are not being judgmental, but I believe whatever correspondence there needs to be between the government of Ghana, CAF, which is the continental regulator of football, and FIFA, the global or international one, those measures would be taken to avoid any repercussions on the Republic of Ghana. So I believe this conversation is going to continue for a long time to come. All too soon, we've come to the end of yet again another edition of Time with Irbad Ibrahim. Till we come your way tomorrow from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Good night and stay blessed. Bye-bye.